Hi, and welcome back to part two of my landscape Grand Canyon tutorial. I accidentally forgot to record like the first half of this painting session I'm doing right now, but I went back into the background, into the landscape and fixed it up a bit. Right now, I'm going in with the blue. I came back because the violet was nice, but now that I fixed up the camp, now that I fixed up the landscape, I'm going back in with that blue shadow color to try to add the correct shadows that were in the references. But to fix this landscape, I went back in with a bit of thinner and that light bright kind of beige color. And I just kind of did these little swipe motions to make it look like there were crevices in the rock because I realized that's what was most successful with the right side of the painting where that bright red is. So I kind of just went in and did that all over, and I just fixed it up, and I added some more reds to the background and the foreground, and I just spruced it up, if that's what you want to call it, and made it more interesting with the details. Now I'm going into this rock. This is a really bright rock, the brightest rock in the painting. And it has a bit of a dip, a bit of a step on the right side. So I try to map that out. And right now I'm just going over it and doing these big, broad streaking, these motions that make it not so blended in, but just kind of going back and forth in a X kind of infinity pattern. And then I'm going back in and doing this side. And I'm just adding some different texture and slightly different shades to that big rock. Now I'm going to start working on the little person, my friend, who's this painting is for. And I'm working on her hat, trying to get this color in. It's just a matter of shade and shape and just a slight different color to make it look like it has, the little part on the top and adding in the shadow. And I'm just going to add in the blue after with the dress. But I'm going to talk a little bit about the background again. So when I ended that first session, I kind of wiped it down, kind of smeared out some of the things I did because I wasn't super happy with it. And then when I went back in to define some areas a lot more, especially on that left upper side, because it was super important to me to make it more realistic because I wasn't too satisfied with how the Grand Canyon was going to look, and I wanted it to represent, what I knew I was capable of giving this painting. So I messed with it a little bit more, and on the left side, I kind of made it less reference to the photo. That's what I did to make this flow a lot more, is I made this painting my own by kind of stepping off the reference photo, which I highly recommend. It does not have to just be constrained to the reference photo because sometimes our artistry, we just innately know instinctually how to proceed with a painting. And once I let that go, that I didn't have to stick with the reference photo entirely, I felt a lot more freer and I was able to really tap into the flow and just kind of let what happened happen. I let my creativity go. And when that happens, I really feel like we enter the artistic flow state because then we're less worried about it, being accurate to the reference photo and more feeling into how you want to portray this painting. How do you want to make it your own? Because it's not a picture, it is a painting. So now I'm painting her little drum because my dear friend has a drum with a hummingbird on it. And even though this wasn't in the reference photo, I wanted to recreate that because when she plays the drum, it is beautiful and it is very special. It is very healing. It touches something in your heart. And I wanted that to be reflected in this grand scene around her. And I'm just adding in her hair, which I kind of messed up a little bit, but I'm going in and correcting it. And I'm just so excited. But now I am going in on the side. There was a bush that was in the reference photo. I could have done this a little more tactfully, but I just was nearing the end and ready for it to be over. even though I had so much fun. So, and plus, you can be kind of lazy when it comes to that, especially if it's not a major focus of the piece. You don't have to make it perfectly sculpted. But what I realized is I made it too thick, made it too bushy. So I go back in a few seconds and try to wipe some parts away to reveal the thing, like the canvas underneath, so that I could create more less like thick and dense bush, but more you could see the background in it and make it feel less like, I'm not sure what's the word, but it just felt too overwhelming and the colors were just not really what I wanted to go with the rest of the painting. So I do go back in with that light violet blue color to kind of tone it down. Yeah, I toned down the bush with the violet blue color, and also to make it feel like it's a part of the composition and not like it's a separate thing just laid over. I want everything to feel like it's connected and a part of the piece. So you do that by always making sure whatever you're painting has a little bit of the main color scheme within it. So as you can see, I did go back. I think I talked about it at the beginning, but I went back over the violet and added more of that turquoise from the sky into it because it was important to me to make sure that they were cohesive, as I keep saying, and that it matched what the reference photo was saying when it came to, or saying what it showed when it came to the shadows. Now, I'm entering this next part of the video and I'm about to add some special details. I'm a very spiritual artist, so I wanted her drum playing to be symbolized within the painting by seeing the frequencies coming out with these gold streaks. And now I'm adding light language to the painting, which is a spiritual thing and it carries its own frequency. And I wanted it to represent my friend and her playing. And now I'm signing, and here are some photos, and thank you for joining me in part 2. If you have any questions, let me know. Bye.